All right, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, what am I doing at work? It's Saturday evening, but hey, sometimes you got to put in the hours when it's kind of the Super Bowl of weather, if you will, with a major winter storm heading our way. We've been busy over the last few days getting ready for this, and we'll have another busy 24 hours preparing you, and then we'll kind of, like the rest of you, kind of sit back and watch the snow fly Saturday, or Sunday night, I should say, and into Monday morning. Thanks for joining me this evening, everyone. We had a live on Facebook earlier with Corey McRae. We talked a little bit about the upcoming storm in that live, mixed in with some news headlines as well. This is going to be solely a weather-focused Facebook and YouTube live this evening. We'll talk about all things winter storm, timing, impacts, and amounts as well, and what you need to do to kind of get ready for this coming in about 24 hours. Our storm right now is down across the deep south. Here it is. It doesn't look like the biggest storm in the world when you look at the radar and satellite this evening, but this is just sort of in its formative stages. This is going to strengthen overnight into Sunday morning, and it's going to become a pretty big problem for some pretty far south latitudes. If you have friends or family that live in, say, Charlotte, North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, even down into parts of South Carolina, they're going to be dealing with not only some snow, but mostly ice. Big ice storm. In fact, ice storm warnings are out for parts of South Carolina. And winter storm warnings are out for just about all of central and eastern North Carolina. So the south is dealing with this first, and then it comes north, and so our entire television viewing area is now in a winter storm warning. The counties just to our west are under a winter weather advisory, including Lake, Geauga, Portage, and Stark counties. The reason for the advisory in those counties instead of the warning, the forecast gets a little more uncertain the farther west you are. There's a big range of possibilities in Cleveland and Akron and Canton, ranging from a couple or a few inches all the way up to almost as much as we're going to get around here. And it's a much tougher call out there. So with lower confidence in the forecast, they did not hoist any winter weather advisories or winter storm warnings for those counties just yet. That might change overnight as we get new model information in, and confidence hopefully will increase. But in our true television viewing area, yeah, winter storm warning. This goes into effect in some places Sunday afternoon, in some places Sunday evening, but either way, it runs through Sunday night and into Monday morning as well. It's been a little while since we've been under a winter storm warning here locally. All right, let's talk about timing. And if you did not prepare for this today, if you didn't run out and make sure you have enough groceries to last you a day or two today, you've got tomorrow to do it. Now, we don't encourage hoarding groceries, buying 10 gallons of milk or anything like that. This is not the kind of storm that's going to shut you in for 5 or 6 days or anything like that. Even in rural areas that tend to have a harder time in big snow situations, longer to get plowed out and that sort of thing. This isn't a 30-inch storm or anything. This will be something that is a big disruption for a good 24 to 36 hours, but then we'll be in better shape by Tuesday and Wednesday. But anyway, you've got all through the daylight hours to get ready on Sunday. I don't think it starts snowing in most places until around or just after sunset. This spreads from south to north, and so by about 7 to 8, it's going to be just about everywhere to be snowing at that point. Now, as we head deeper into the evening, not only should it be snowing, but not going to be surprised if we have some sleet mixed in with the snow as we head through the evening hours. Thankfully, for snow lovers, the sleet is not going to last all that long and should not short-circuit this storm. Sometimes when we have a winter storm and we get too much sleet, that can really cut down on snow totals. I don't think it'll cut down dramatically on our totals around here, but it's going to be possible for a few hours Sunday evening that you're going to hear pinging on the windows. Little balls of ice, basically sleet, mixed in with wet snowflakes. And I think the window for that mostly between 8 p.m. and about 1 a.m. After that is just snow. But yeah, we're going to have some sleet trying to mix in for a while, and therefore accumulations are not going to be super fast in the evening in most spots. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if I start getting some messages on Facebook around midnight saying, hey, this storm's a bust. Where's my 12 inches of snow? I only have an inch. Every winter storm I get messages like that. And in this situation, I wouldn't be surprised if I do as well, because this is not going to be quickly accumulating snow at first. That'll change overnight. once we get done with the window where we could have some sleet, this is when we get in on the heavier bands of snow. Now, there can be a dry slot that works in east of I-79 for a time. This will be mostly a forecast issue, I think, for central PA, not as much in eastern Ohio and western PA, but there can be a dry slot for a while. I don't think that dry slot is going to be an issue around here. In fact, on the northern and western side of that dry slot, that's where the heaviest snow bands are going to live. And so it's going to really start thumping once we get past midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m., and it's going to just keep on snowing at a pretty good clip for several hours, taking us into Monday morning. Now, for the rest of the day on Monday, yes, there can be some flurries, some snow showers here and there. We'll get some lake effect and lake enhancement going on. Additional accumulations once we're done with the storm, per se, should be pretty modest, but could someone get an additional inch or so of lake effect on Monday once we're done with the actual storm? Yeah, I suppose that's possible. But I'm not expecting any sort of real big accumulations from any sort of impact from Lake Erie on Monday. So the storm itself, the snow will taper off between about 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Monday morning, and maybe a flurry will linger into Tuesday morning. So again, re-emphasizing the timing of things. The snow gets underway just after sunset, south of 224, and then the snow works its way north. The last places to see the snow starting to fall will be in northern Trumbull and northern Mercer counties. I think the heaviest snow at this point is after midnight, once we're done with any sleet threat. The heaviest snowfall rates could be 1 inch or 2 inches per hour. That's some heavy snow. That makes for very low visibility. That makes it so it's really difficult for the road crews to keep up with this. On a normal Sunday night, there's not a lot of people out and about at 2 in the morning. But some people, do have to be out at that time of night. Truckers and people who work oddball hours. And if you do have to be out at that time of night, be prepared for some pretty hazardous conditions throughout the region, whether you're concerned about the Youngstown area or you're going to someplace in western PA. If you're traveling west overnight, maybe heading towards Cleveland, Akron on 76, or up the turnpike towards Cleveland, conditions will improve as you get closer to your destinations. The closer you are to Youngstown, the worse the conditions will be, but it'll still be no fun. And again, the snow will then taper off as we get into Monday morning. This is one model simulation of kind of the rolling snow accumulation as we go through time. And what I want to point out here is a few things. Notice the big jumps from some hours, from 1 hour to the next. So in other words, 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., that's 1 inch plus per hour. Another 1 inch plus per hour through 3 a.m., same thing. 3 to 4 a.m., 4 to 5 a.m. I mean, you get the idea here. For a few hours, or a handful of hours, 1 inch per hour will be a distinct possibility. So the snow is really going to add up. So if you go to bed at 11 o'clock Sunday night and you've only got 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches on the ground, don't go to bed thinking, oh, another bust, another hyped forecast. They never can get it right. All those sorts of things that I hear all the time. Because daylight Monday morning will, I think, provide quite a different story when people get up and see all the snow that's on the ground. Let's talk amounts. Here's a look at our spread of some of our computer models. Each individual colored line here is a different model. Now, these aren't the only computer models in the world. We look at a lot of weather models, and a trained, experienced meteorologist doesn't rely on just one model or even just a couple of models. I look at a dozen or more pieces of information on kind of a standard issue day, let alone a day in which we have a big snowstorm coming. So I've looked at a lot of stuff, but this will just give you a sense as to what some of the computer models are advertising. Generally a range here on our modeling, the current runs of our models, 9 inches on the low end to up here 15, 16 inches on the high end. I think that high end is pretty ambitious, but some of the modeling is indeed showing that. Some of the modeling has been showing that for a couple of days now. Not necessarily ready to just buy that lock, stock, and barrel, but we've got to take that into consideration. So I get a lot of comments like, oh, the numbers keep changing, the forecast keeps changing, I see all these numbers, and that's not coming from us. People are shopping around for different forecasts, or they're looking at a few different apps on their phone, they're looking at the Weather Channel, they're looking at other sources, and all those numbers can be a lot and can get you confused if you just try to narrow down your trusted sources. We hope that we are one of your trusted sources. Try to just rely on a couple and don't shop for 5 or 6 forecasts out of for any reason, but especially if you're just looking for the forecast that you like the best, that suits your preference. If you're a snow lover, try not to shop for the forecast that has the most snow in it. On the flip side of that, if you hate snow and don't want this at all, don't look for the forecast that has the least amount of snow. Find your trusted sources, rely on that, and minimize the potential confusion by seeing all sorts of different forecasts. We put out our first forecast yesterday for snow accumulations, and it included 6 to 9 inches across our TV viewing area. What we did today was we did up that total, and I made some adjustments to the map today, and this includes now an area of 12 plus that gets down to Crawford County, PA, up into Erie County, and into southwestern New York, around Buffalo, over towards Rochester as well. Now, could some places closer to our TV viewing area get more than 12? Yeah, I don't think it's as likely at this point as it is just off to our adjacent northwest PA counties. But it's going to be possible. But, at this point, though, whether you get 10 inches or 13 inches, you're just kind of at that point, you're splitting hairs because it's just a heck of a lot of snow either way. The impacts are the same. It's just it's a matter of vanity at that point. It's sticking that ruler in and taking a picture of it and posting it and saying, look how much snow I got. But the practical impacts to your day-to-day life, whether you get 9 inches or 13 inches out of the storm, aren't too much different. It's not like the difference between an inch and 7 inches. There's a big difference in the impacts between those two numbers. Once you get into some of these loftier numbers, the impacts are all generally about the same. So I think in a lot of our television viewing area, we'll see at least 9, some places approaching 12. Best chance for some lower numbers will be in that purple color in the western part of our viewing area. So think of places like Southington, Mesopotamia, Newton Falls, Berlin Center, out towards maybe New Garden, Hanoverton, maybe just west of Salem, Beloit, Sebring. Those are the places that have the chance of maybe not quite getting to 9, maybe less than that. But for the majority of our TV viewing area, yeah, I think it's going to be 9, 10, 11, maybe even 12. And so kids already had the day off on Monday because of the holiday. It's a federal holiday. Some people will be off as well, and some people might be home because of the snow, maybe not making it to work. If you're going to be home with the kids and you want to make a snowman, break out that sled for the first time this season. It's going to be blustery in the afternoon, not super cold. I mean, it'll be in the middle and upper 20s, but we're not going to go straight into single digits or anything right behind the snow event. And the characteristics of this snowpack, you're going to start with a pretty wet snow, very good for packing Sunday evening. On top of that, if we get some sleet, there's going to be this layer of crust that isn't great and makes it a little harder to shovel Monday morning, and snowblowers don't love that little crusty layer either. And then on top of that, as the air gets colder overnight, the snow will become fluffier, and so the top of the snowpack's kind of fluffy, not great for packing and making a snowball and a snowman, but underneath that, you're going to find the good stuff for making those snowmen Monday afternoon. Now, big-time snowstorms, kind of counterintuitively, are not as common in January as they are in some of our other wintry months. December, February, and especially March, it's more common in those months to have big-time winter storms, especially at the end of the season in March. That tends to be, even though it doesn't snow as often in March, when it does snow in March, chances are you're going to have a pretty big one. So in January, you have more frequent snow, but it tends to be more lake effect events and kind of smaller things. And it's been a while. We are overdue. We've been talking about this all week long with the prospect of a pretty heavy snow. We're a little bit out of practice with this. Now, all these numbers are, of course, valid at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna in Trumbull County. That's the official station for our TV viewing area for weather observations and records. And I know that with snow, your mileage can vary. Now, some places have had a foot of snow in some events in recent years, but at the airport, it's been almost 10 years, a little over 9 years, since about Christmas time of 2012, since we've had a single event that gave us a double-digit amount. Just after Christmas in 2012, 10.7. And then you look back at the record book, and wow, what a few years we had from 2007 to 2010. We had several big-ticket events, including 2 feet of snow in early December in 2010. A lot of people fondly, if you're a snow lover especially, remember the winters of the 70s, but those winters in the late 2000s were much snowier than those winters of the 70s, which were harsh and at times snowy, but we actually had our snowiest stretch on record about 12, 13, 14 years ago. Once we get done with our snowstorm, what's the pattern looking like? Pretty cold the rest of the week, and pretty cold in the longer range as well. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook, so this would take us almost through the end of January. Does it look like we're going to see any sort of record-breaking cold? No, probably not. But it does look consistently cold. Once we drop below freezing Wednesday night, we're going to bump up a little bit above freezing Wednesday afternoon. But once we drop below freezing Wednesday night, we may not see freezing again for a little while. So we're paying the price a little bit for the very balmy month of December that we did have. And even early January, while it was colder, it wasn't crazy cold, and we didn't have a lot of snow to kick off the month of January. All right, that's kind of my presentation. I'm going to real quickly here look through some of the comments to see if anybody has some questions that I haven't addressed at this point. So bear with me for a second while I kind of look through some of my comments here. Thanks to everyone for joining me. Got a big crowd here tonight. Thanks for all the questions. Denny asking, will there be power outages? That seems unlikely, I would say. The snow will be heavy and wet at first, but then it gets lighter as the night wears on. Also, we're not expecting a lot of wind with this. So I would say that power outages, while they can't be ruled out in a patchy sense, I don't think it's going to be a major issue for us because of the lighter, fluffier nature of the snow later at night, and we're not going to have a bunch of wind with this as well. Again, lots of nice comments from everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people on social media over the last couple of days. Weather people, meteorologists, we have a lot of trolls in our life, a lot of people who just don't have much better to do than to get on and criticize the local meteorologist, but that's a small minority. Most people, very, very nice. And I've gotten a lot of really super comments over the last few days on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. People who really appreciate not only me, but the rest of our team here as well, and the effort that we put into things. And so I even though I can't respond to every comment, it's overwhelming in a situation like this. I really do appreciate everyone who does make an effort to chime in and say positive things and has well wishes for people who have, when we have situations like this, we have a pretty stressful job. We've got to deal with a lot. It's hard enough to figure out the weather, but then you've got to communicate what you think the forecast is what the forecast is, what the weather is going to be. That's the tricky part, is communicating in a way that people understand and can easily digest. You can make the best forecast in the world, but if people don't kind of get what you're saying, it's all for naught. You got to be able to communicate it. So anyway, some people commenting on the parking bans that are in effect in some municipalities. No doubt that's going to be an issue for some over the next few days. Jim asking about Ashtabula County, and again, if you're traveling off to the north, Ashtabula is going to kind of be in a similar boat as our television viewing area. So in Trumbull County, especially once you're closer to the PA line, the farther west in Ashtabula you are, closer to Geauga County, closer to Lake County, closer to some of the wineries, some of the Geneva wineries and places like that. I think the amounts might be a little lower over there. Once you're closer to the PA line, amounts are definitely going to be have the potential to be a little bit higher. Emily asking, will it melt away by midweek or stick around? It's going to largely stick around through Wednesday morning. Now, Wednesday afternoon, we have a one-day warm-up coming in which some of this will compact and melt. We'll get above freezing, but that's just a one-day deal. We're way below freezing, again, starting Wednesday night and taking us through at least next week. So whatever doesn't compact and melt on Wednesday is going to be around for the long haul. We're not going to see the grass again in a lot of places, I think, for some time, probably at least a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or so. Trish asking, so maybe less in Guilford Lake. I wouldn't split hairs too much. I think once you're west of Guilford Lake on 30, heading over towards Minerva, and especially towards Canton, you have a better chance of the lower amounts the farther west you are. Once you're over towards Guilford Lake and New Garden and heading over closer to Lisbon on 30 and 154, you're getting more into the thick of things once you get into central parts of Columbiana County. Denny asking, why are the warnings starting at 1 p.m.? I got this question from someone else earlier today. The winter storm warning in effect for Mercer, Lawrence, and Columbiana does begin at 1 p.m. That's because those counties are covered by the Pittsburgh National Weather Service office. And because the snow is coming into a lot of Pittsburgh's jurisdiction earlier in the day, they just issued one broad winter storm warning for all of their counties starting at the same time. Now, in the counties in our viewing area that are included in that, that's kind of the northern fringes of the Pittsburgh area of jurisdiction. And so, yeah, it's not going to start snowing at 1 p.m. on Sunday in Mercer, Lawrence, and Columbiana. The winter storm warning technically begins then because the winter storm warning begins at 1 also in Cambridge and Zanesville and Morgantown and places way off to our south. That's the reason for the warning start time being quite a bit earlier than the counties covered by the Cleveland NWS. Gonna briefly look at my YouTube comments. I'm also doing a simultaneous live on YouTube. Thanks to everyone for joining me there. If you're not following me on YouTube, be sure and do that, and subscribe to the videos there. Click on the notification icon to get notified whenever I post a new video. Someone asking about leaving for Cleveland tomorrow night and not Monday morning. The earlier the better. I would say if you can leave pretty early in the evening, you should be in a lot better shape. Someone asking thoughts on the HRRR model. Sometimes you hear us refer to that as the HRRR model, HRRR, High Resolution Rapid Refresh Model, and that it is trended a little farther east than all the others. I have seen that. It's an outlier. There is a pretty strong, at this point, model consensus of the heart of this storm being close to the Ohio-Pennsylvania line, and the HRRR is an outlier, and also the HRRR 4 times a day runs out 48 hours in the future. It gets less and less reliable once you get out into hours 36, 40, 46, 48. As we get a little bit closer to the start time, when we get tonight's run of the HRRR, it'll be interesting to see if it starts adjusting farther to the west. But at this point, its east solutions with the storm track are a pretty big outlier. So noted, but it's not a big factor in the forecast right now. All right, so I think that covers some of the questions, and hopefully I answered some of the other questions you may have had during the course of the live stream. I'll be hopping on social media occasionally this evening with more posts. Be sure and click on my page on Facebook or my feed on Twitter. I've got tons and tons of information on both of those things. Chances are if you have a question, I've at least partially answered it on any number of posts over the last few days. No one posts more stuff than I do. So just click on my page. Don't rely on your news feed on Facebook, which the algorithm filters stuff out, and you never know what you're going to see. Click on my actual page to just scroll through and look at the maps, look at the graphs, look at the posts, and chances are your question may be answered there. If not, yeah, send me a message and ask away, and I'll try to get to as many questions and comments as I can. And after no 6 o'clock news because of football this evening, we will be on the air tonight at 11. So I look forward to joining you then. Look forward to you joining us then, I should say. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Saturday night and Sunday as well.